Hello and welcome to the QuadCast. I'm the founder and host, John Mackay. This podcast, while mainly for and about folks like me who have had their lives affected by a spinal cord injury, is really for anyone who just wants to be inspired. In this space, I speak with individuals who have had life-changing injuries and accidents, and yet in spite of insurmountable odds in many cases, have gone on to do amazing things with those lives. I'm reminded of the old metaphor that when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. Well, my guests, they take those lemons and roll right over them with their wheelchairs and rollators on their journey. I'd like to thank you for lending me your ears for another session of OT and PT for the soul. So, what do you say we get this show on the road? Ian Mackay, welcome to the QuadCast, my friend.
Thank you, John. Really happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
We kicked around some dates and times, and we were able to pull it together today. And I actually just spoke with a friend of yours a week or two ago, Kenny Salvini.
Yeah, one of my besties.
Yeah, what a super guy. And I told him I was going to talk to you, and he said, all right, have a great show. And so usually, Ian, what I like to do with my shows is to begin at the beginning. So why don't, if you could tell us where did you grow up and what were some things that you were interested in your youth?
All right, so we're going way back. So I grew up in San Diego County. El Cajon was the town, and I don't know. I lived in a smaller little town within El Cajon, and I used to love, riding my bike all around. I loved, finding snakes and lizards and tarantulas, and I just love being out riding around, rolling around, and being part of the community there. Got a go-kart when I was like my 12 or 13 year, and that was really fun to go cruise around. But yeah, it was a really good youth.
Yeah, I mean, what would we have done with these cell phones and tablets that people have? I mean, we wouldn't have been finding sticks and snakes and throwing
Interesting
rocks.
generation because of that, right? I mean, we just didn't have exposure to that, and yeah, the lives of the youth these days are so much different than that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's funny. I can remember seeing one of the last specials that George Carlin did. He did a whole riff on, families now doing play dates. He said, what the heck is a play date? And you got to set things up. He said, when was the last time kids went outside and played with a stick? He says, I think they've outlawed sticks in the world now. They're not allowed to play with them.
I hear you.
Oh
It's
man.
unfortunate. It's
It is
unfortunate.
unfortunate, yeah. Well, that's cool. You got to do a lot of that stuff. We were talking before I hit record here about living in San Diego, and I told you that I had a couple of really great experiences there. The weather and whatnot was so conducive to be outside, right?
Oh, for sure. And I live now up in Port Angeles, Washington, and it's quite a bit different. But it was nice. I mean, in East County, San Diego, it'd get hot, right? And so 100 degrees wasn't unusual. Yeah, we're in a different space these days, but it was perfect for getting out, getting to explore. Um, yeah, really great memories of my childhood.
Sure, sure. Now, as you're getting a bit older and moving along your teen years, and you get into college, I understand you were pretty diversified when you got into the whole college scene. Tell us, first of all, where was the first school that you attended, and what did you study in particular there?
Yeah, so really, right out of high school, my mom and brother moved up to Santa Barbara, and I ended up renting the house that we were living in. And so 18, had my own space, and I said, okay. And I was working. I'm like, I'm also going to try to go to college. I was thinking like business is what I would do, and I remember taking a couple classes and quickly realized at 18, working and wanting to have a enjoyable time after high school, I just couldn't keep up with it all, and so I
Yeah,
didn't make it through very long. There eventually, though, after a couple years, just having fun with friends and working, I moved up to Santa Barbara where my mom and family kind of had moved, and I did start going to school there too. And I started as a business major at Santa
hmm,
Barbara City College, and I was thinking, it's probably where I could make the most money. It might be the most lucrative option, and so went into that. And a lot of communication classes were required for that major, and so I started taking communication classes. And And John, quickly I found that that's where the girls were. That were all in these communication classes, and so I switched majors and kind of moved over to that space. But
Yeah.
while pursuing that, I took a field botany course, and they brought us. What did they do? They brought us out to the Mojave and just different places around San Diego County. And here we were. We were being introduced to, I don't know, more of the flora and, I don't know, the natural world. And we were doing it in a group setting, and we were with like-minded individuals. And the
Hmm.
teacher was fun and charming, and I really, really enjoyed that. And so I kind of then I ended up meeting a girl. We moved together up to Santa Cruz, and that's where I went to school at Cabrillo College for quite a while, a community college, and really dove deep into the biology world, and eventually transferred to UC Santa Cruz, and yeah, I got a job in the lab there for the plant biology lab, and yeah, it was kind of like my life at that time. I was getting involved in bike touring, so where you could take a bike and like cross a state. It was pretty charming and fun to just kind of see the world at a slower pace. I was mainly um, kind of more of a road crew. I was driving a 1978 Volkswagen Westfalia, and
Oh,
it was a
wow.
it was a fun support vehicle, and so I would often pick up the beer and go set up the campsite and meet everybody at the end of the day. And
The important jobs.
yeah, and yeah, you can hear how it all went, but I never really got to join them, and
Yeah.
it was an experience I really wanted to have, and
Hmm.
and then unfortunately in 2008
Yeah.
I broke my neck.
Yes. Well, just to get back to the VW stuff, the first car I drove was a 1975 yellow punch buggy Volkswagen Beetle. Yeah, it was great. My friends used to, because the emergency brake never worked on it and nobody locked their cars back then. I would pull over to like a friend's house, and by the time I would come out at the end of the night, my car would be gone, and my buddies would push it up on the neighbor's lawn or something like that. It was always something crazy about that, but yeah. And I see that you've had numerous hobbies. You're into table tennis and craft beer, nature photography, bluegrass music, and of course, cycling. That's pretty cool list. Tell me about some of those.
Sure. I was brewing at the time, and so I really did love my craft beer. I'm getting outside as much as possible. We live close to Big Sur,
Okay.
there in Santa Cruz, and so spent a lot of time there. The table tennis, I don't know. I always really enjoyed playing ping pong with my grandfather,
Yeah.
and one of my college chemistry professor. We became really close friends, but he was also a table tennis player, and he'd put on little tournaments, and so
All
we
right.
started playing, and I
Yeah.
I
Was
managed to
there
win
any
a couple.
beer pong involved? Did
Oh,
you
you know it. See,
combine the
that
craft
was
beer
that
with
was
that?
the challenge. That was the challenge, is that he did like one every year, and he required the following year that the winner from the previous year, drink a beer after every game, and everyone had to do this except my glass was a lot bigger than everyone else's, and by the end I could barely see the ball coming at me, but
You
it,
had
it
a
made for a
stein.
lot of fun, and we developed really strong relationship, and actually that's who I started going on those
Awesome.
bike tours with. And
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, I lived, in downtown Santa Cruz at the time. I was riding my bike to school. I mean, it had a really cool setup. UC Santa Cruz is up on this hill,
Hmm.
and you could catch a shuttle from the downtown, Santa Cruz, and get your
Right.
bike shuttled up to the top, and you do your day in class, and then you get to ride down this hill at the end of the day.
Nice.
And that was always like, a really fun experience.
Look forward to that every day, right?
Yeah.
So talk to us about June 4, 2008. We all have our day. What do you remember before, during, and after the cycling accident that changed the direction of your life?
Sure. Well, I mean, it's a good segue because I just mentioned, we got to
You
ride our
did.
bike down that
Yeah.
hill every day. And, I had a little bike computer, and, it was fun to just see how fast you could get down and see how high of a speed you get to. the fastest I'd ever got was 42 miles per hour going down
Oh,
this hill.
oh my gosh. Now, what kind of a bike are you on? Are you on
Oh, it's
a
just a
mountain bike or?
little hybrid. It was a little hybrid bike, and
Okay.
yeah, I got it from a grad student that was leaving the lab when I started working there, and
Okay.
but yeah, on that date, I was going about 38, 39 miles per hour, and there was some sand in the pathway. I hit the
Mm,
sand and went head first into a tree.
yikes.
You know, I remember hitting that sand. I remember realizing, oh, you know, what's going on? And you know, I'm sure I passed out for a moment, but I remember looking up through the boughs of this tree, realizing I couldn't feel kind of
Hmm.
anything, you know, below my chest, and
Yeah.
I couldn't move anything below my chest. And there was this gal that was walking up the path, and I asked her if she could, you know, reach out to 911. And campus police showed up. Ambulances got there. They ultimately got me in an ambulance and then to a life flight
Right.
where they brought me to Santa Clara Valley Medical Center, you know, in San Jose in California. And that's where I spent the next 3 months, you know, kind of learning how to live as a paralyzed man. And
Yeah.
John is so many folks, you know, who have dealt with paralysis here. You wake up and, you know, and all of a sudden, you know, the reality starts hitting. It's like, okay, what does my future look like now? I mean,
Yeah.
you have these dreams, you have these aspirations
Of
that you're thinking
course.
about. You're going to school, and you're like, okay, what's my career going to be? You're developing these great relationships, and
Yeah.
you know, all the joy that you had found. You're like, okay, how can I continue that? I,
Yeah. It just drains out of your body, right?
it does, it does, and I was really fortunate that both my parents were divorced, but
Hmm.
they both showed up at that hospital, and they stayed with me for the next 3 months. And you know, if I didn't have that kind of support, and I don't know where I'd be. But you know, trying to deal with something like that alone is just, you know, unimaginable. And so
You
I'm
know,
very
Ian, I work today. I work 2 days a week at Kessler Institute for Rehabilitation up here. That's I don't know if you've heard of it. That's where Chris Reeve did his rehab, and where I did mine 34 years ago. And I'm the peer mentoring coordinator, so it's my job to go around and I try and match newly injured folks with people that have been around the block, sort of like myself. We have a roster of people that have been through there and are back out in the community. They're married, they're having families, they're working, they're really thriving. And I see some folks in their hospital rooms that are completely by themselves, and I don't know how they do it. It's my heart really goes out to them.
higher level paralysis you have, there's just the more information you need to take in. And you know, and when you're dealing with such emotional trauma and so many other challenges, and you're trying
Yeah,
to take in all this information on how to live as a, you know, I was a vent dependent, you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
quadriplegic, and
yeah,
I could barely, you know, manage my own feelings other than, you know, really digest all this information on how to live
yeah.
successfully and not be stuck in a, you know, a skilled nursing facility or something.
Yeah. So what did the doctors initially tell you? Did you have surgery? What was the after
Sure.
you got medevaced out?
So I got there, and you know, at the time I could move my arms a little bit, and so what I remember laying there and recalling my mom down in Santa Barbara telling her what's going on, and she, you know, immediately drove up.
Hmm.
But what they did was they took a safety pin and they started kind of down by my belly
Oh,
button and
yep.
started poking, you know, poking my stomach to go, hey, can you feel this, right? And I said no, and they'd move up an inch or two. Can you feel this? No, and you know, eventually, yeah, I can feel that. And they'd take a Sharpie and they'd make a line right there at that spot. And
Yeah.
they'd wait 30 minutes and they'd start doing it again, you know, and they'd then move up an inch or two from that last line. And no, I can't feel. And so when I could, they'd make another line. That line kept moving up. And it got to the point where I wasn't going to be able to breathe, you know, much longer. And so they intubated me.
Okay.
And, you know, I don't remember much probably for the next day or two. I remember then waking up on something called a rotorest, and a rotorest is a bed that it's almost like a hammock in the way it just swings you back and
Sure.
forth a little bit slower, and it's something just to keep the fluid in your lungs from not overwhelming you and keep pressure down. And but it was something where it's like I just could not stop moving, and I just wanted to be like sit on the ground. I'm on so many drugs,
Right.
and everything is so new, and I can't speak, and
Mm.
I do have my family there, but that was the only only bright side of that moment.
Yeah, yeah. Tell us about um the vent side of it all. I mean, I see folks now um that are vent dependent, and they probably will be forever. And I don't know. Listen, I have my own issues. I have all the fun that comes along with being a C3-4 quad, and so I have my crosses to bear. But the ventilator, I don't know if that's something that I would be able to do. So tell us a little bit about that, because it's a harrowing experience.
Sure. And so eventually they tell me I'm a suit C2 complete, and that I will
C
be
two.
on a ventilator for for life, most likely.
Mm,
And I there's something called a cuff, when you finally do get trached, and I got the intubation tube out of my mouth, and
mm-hmm.
that cuff prevents you from speaking, but it keeps the air going
Yeah.
in and out without coming out your mouth. And I kept that cuff inflated really for the next year. I mean, I didn't speak. People had to read my lips, and I had nothing good to say, John. I just had nothing good to say, and I just felt so dependent on this machine. And you even have like these practices of yoga and other things to really calm yourself, and so much of them are like breathing exercises.
Yeah.
It's hard to do that when you have these timed mechanical breaths that are coming in, but
Yeah.
you it's your lifeline at that point, and it's amazing what you can get used to, John. It's
Without question. So how long did it take to for you to get the
yeah, yeah.
ability to breathe again? I mean,
So about yeah,
yeah.
about a year after my injury, well, I'd been working with an occupational therapist who specialized in myofascial release. And,
Okay.
I could still feel kind of my neck and, part of my shoulders, not a lot of pain there. And
Mm-hmm.
she would work there and she would really relieve a lot of that pain. But one thing she'd also have me do is kind of shrug my shoulders in time with the ventilator breath. And we've been doing this for months. And one night I'm in bed, and my dad, for a year, he's sleeping on a futon next to me. And I'm just,
Yeah.
if I need help.
Yeah, right.
And I say, Dad, let's, we always watch Jeopardy together. And to Jeopardy finish, I'm like, will you take the vent off? And he's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
I want to try something. And we took that vent off, and I kind of shrugged my shoulders like I'd been doing working with that therapist, and I took a breath, and I kind of just kept going from there, and my diaphragm was building up strength, and yeah, eventually it probably took me 6 months after that before I was really off the vent most of the day. I sleep on a ventilator, so I'm still on it
You
for
do.
days.
Okay.
And it's a
Mm-hmm.
it's a sense of comfort these days. I mean, you
Oh
put that
yeah.
on and I just want to fall asleep.
Yeah.
But when you're wearing it 24 hours a day, it is a kind of a ball and chain. It's something that is
Oh.
a constant worry, and you really need someone nearby. If that thing disconnects or stops
Oh.
working,
Yeah.
it'll be seconds.
I always wondered what people do, like if the power goes out, like do you have to have a generator in your house? I mean, that would freak me out.
Yeah, battery backups, generators, and yeah, you just start wrapping your head around everything you can that is going to keep you alive.
Yeah, stuff that could go wrong. You alluded to the mental aspect of all of this and coming to grips with it. I know people, don't realize, they see that these injuries rob so much from us physically. They see they see you in a chair. They see me now using a rollator and, having a hard time getting food up to my face and getting dressed and all of that. But what they don't realize is what these injuries do to us mentally. I mean, they can just really strip it down to take it down to the wood, and so tell us, how did you start to come to grips with all this? How long did it take you to kind of find your way out of the desert, if you will, and back into sort of the land of the living again?
Yeah, well, like I alluded to first, I mean, I was 26 years old, and you're at that point, you really make big plans for your future and your life and relationships. And it's like, okay, all of that has just slipped through my fingers, and I don't know what to do. And then there's this aspect where you need help with everything. And
Yeah.
I mean, after months of having to wake up my father or my mother when they are just exhausted from helping me, and and here they are, they have to help me use a suction machine to clear my airway or whatever, and that really starts to grind on you. And sure, they love you and they're going to do anything for you, but having to ask that of your loved ones over and over, I mean, it really starts grinding on you and thinking, I mean, what am I doing and how am I putting my family through this, and how it impacts so much more than the individual when you have a high level spinal cord injury. I mean, your friends, your community, your family. I mean, everyone is affected, and you're really calling on all of your people for
Yeah.
all the help you can get. Because and yeah, and how long it took until I felt okay asking for help. But it was a mental it was a
Jujitsu.
uh, I mean, yeah, the emotions, the thoughts, and of course, you're even thinking, do I want a life like this?
Right.
Do I want a future like this? Then you're thinking, okay, all I can do is move above my neck. How would I even choose to end this?
Yeah.
Right? And,
Yeah.
that's a morbid thought, but it's certainly something that goes through your mind. And, it may not be just because of you imagining a life living like this, but imagining your family's lives, having
Right.
to help you
Yeah.
the
It's
rest of
sort of that gallows humor. I know I joke around with some of my fellow quads and they're like, we couldn't harm ourselves even if we tried to. I mean, I use this thing called a rocker knife because as you can see, like my hands here, I'm just fists, and this is about as high as I can lift my arms. I can't get them up. So to cut food, I have this knife. It's not sharp, and you have to like rock back and forth. And I was used to joke with my OTs, like I'm going to be the serial killer with the rocker knife, but I'm gonna have to tell the person, okay, you have to lay over here and let me do this across your neck like 6,000 times.
it.
Oh
Gosh, yeah.
gosh, it's
It is.
crazy.
Those are the things that are going through your head. I mean, in
Of
those dark,
course,
dark times. And I,
absolutely.
I'd be lying if I don't admit it. So.
Yeah. So what was it, Ian? That was it the lore of your old life? I know that bicycling really has become, excuse me, a focal point for you. Was it the fact that you were able to get back out on a bike and I read somewhere where the cell phone, something as small as a cell phone was sort of like the light bulb that went off. We're like, all right, I have the cell phone now, so if I find myself in a pickle here, I can make a call and someone can help me, but I can be back out on my own again. It's sort of like living my life again. Was that sort of
Yeah.
how it all came together?
Well, kind of. So first, you get off the ventilator, and then all of a sudden, you no longer have to be quite so tethered to someone else.
Yeah,
You
that's true.
get a little more independence, a little more freedom. And what really so when I was in the hospital, they had a couple individuals come in to do some peer support. And at that time it was just too early. I'm like, you guys couldn't understand what I've
Yeah.
lost and
Get lost.
what
Yeah.
I'm dealing with.
Yep.
It was ignorance on my part, but I was just I wasn't willing to recognize that I was them.
You
And
weren't ready. Yeah. And I was
no,
the same way. I didn't want anybody in my room putting a happy face on it either.
yeah, and so about probably 18 months after my injury, I another quadriplegic came rolling up my ramp at my house that my mom had been communicating with and organized this visit. And he rolls up this ramp, and this man is like he's dressed nice, and he's like clearly cares about his appearance. And
Yeah.
he doesn't have a caregiver with him, and he's similar level to me, and here I am probably still wearing like a hospital gown just because of putting
Yeah.
clothes on. And I'm just recently able to really speak very well off the ventilator. And
Hmm.
but I'm talking to this guy, and he's got a job, and he's got a relationship, and he has his own home. And I mean, he's really living, and he's happy.
Yeah.
And it made me think, okay, what the heck am I doing? I need to probably start living a little bit more. And anyway, that relationship, Todd Todd Stubblefield was that man. He's affectionately known as the Quad Father, A-
Father.
and he was really involved in kind of tech world. That's where he was working, and mobile technology at that point. I mean, this was in 2010.
Hmm.
I mean, was was really difficult. There was very few options available to us if we had no way to interact with it. And so finally, iOS 7, Apple's iPhone came out with iOS 7, and with that, there was a feature called Switch Control. Todd became aware of this new feature and how this could really open up an avenue, a way for us to really utilize a phone. And
Yeah.
so we kind of dove into the Switch Control. It was life changing. Once I had a phone, a dependable, reliable phone, I could start going just a third of a mile down my street to a trail called the Olympic Discovery Trail. It's like 130 miles of access, pretty much
Yeah.
70 miles either direction from my house. And all of a sudden I was in nature again, and I'm seeing the spring flowers come up. I'm smelling that damp earth, right? It was just it reminded me of the things I loved and what I was passionate
Sure.
about before
Sure. Yeah.
before I was injured. Anyway, after we got adept with the switch control, Todd really wanted to share it with the rest of the community, and so we ultimately made a video. We made a video showing how this technology and these features that Apple is offering, it was giving us complete independence and changing our lives.
Yeah.
And we wanted others to be able to utilize this so that they could also have that independence. And anyway, this video went, everyone, a lot of people saw it, and Apple ended up seeing it, and
Cool.
they invited Todd and I down to Cupertino, and then we started consulting with Apple, and I've been consulting with Apple for the past 10 years.
Wow.
And then so just a couple years after, after that, they had a new technology coming out called voice control.
Oh,
And I've
yeah.
been working with them, and so a year before voice control came out, they tapped me to start using it. I'm starting writing signing all these non-disclosure agreements, and couldn't
Wow.
even share with my mom or my community of what I was doing. But I'm using this tech, and it's like, wow, this is going to change the game for
Yeah.
and
For
just
everybody.
and for I got to spend a full year working with them to really fine tune and develop this technology that has been life changing. And then after the year was about over, they tapped me to do the national commercial to introduce voice control to the world. So that was really neat. And
I don't
it
recall
played,
seeing that.
yeah, it played during like the NBA finals and the NHL finals, and
Oh,
it
wow.
was it was it was huge. Yeah, people from all over the country were calling, "Hey, I just saw you on TV." I ended up doing another. We also did a commercial with Todd and I on Switch Control even before that. So I've got to do a couple national commercials with Apple. And
Wow. I hope you got some royalties on that.
oh yeah, but that
Oh, good.
relationship, more valuable than the royalties is just to have the ear to the company that's providing so much of my independence, and to be able to
Yeah.
say, hey, I couldn't do this and I was stuck, and let's see what we can fix. Or I lead a lot of support groups and other folks coming up to me saying, hey, what's wrong? Why is this a bug? And me being able to
Yeah.
get that right to the developers of folks in the accessibility team. And yeah, and it's been really valuable. It's been rewarding, and it's been a great over 10 years of
Yeah. Well, first of all, let me say thank you for as someone who uses the voice control almost all the time. Thank you to you and Todd and the folks at Apple for thinking of the community. I mean, a lot of people don't know, Ian, you don't know until you know. And when you're in our position, what else can we do? I mean, it's not like I can get my knuckles out and type a text message. It would take 3 days to do.
no,
So,
it's Siri's great, but you can't edit, you can't fully interact with your phone that way.
right.
And voice control really allow, it's a alternative to fingers in a way where you can
Yeah.
use every aspect of the phone with just your voice.
Yeah. And so then tell me how that fits in with getting out on the trails again? When did
All
that
right,
all
all
start to
right.
go?
So
And you're racking up the frequent flyer miles. You
yeah, there
went
we
from
go.
stuck in the house to now 10, 15 miles a day.
So like I mentioned, that trail is only a third of a mile from my house, and I with this tech, it's like I felt confident that I could call for help if I was in a pinch. And at first, I'm only going a mile or so out, and still scared, and I run back to help just in case. And then I'm doing 3 to 5. Eventually, I'm running my chair out of battery, going almost 30 miles a day. And
My
and
gosh.
uh, you know, over a couple of years, I've seen every inch of that trail. I've seen every bush and every crack, and
Mm.
every aspect. And I was thinking, well, hey, I really love this bike touring, and I really always wanted to experience it. I wonder if I could
Hmm.
kind of relive that, but in my wheelchair. And so I reached out to that professor. Um, his name is Josh Blaustein, or is Josh, Dr. B. And
Dr.
I tell him
B,
what I was
shout
thinking
out.
thinking about doing, and he said, "Yep." And he flew up, and I designed a route, and we rode across the state of Washington. What was really charming and fun about my route planning, though, was that I made sure that every day we finished right near a brewery where we could go enjoy a cold one, and kind of talk about the day. But
That was the ulterior motive. This was all
yeah,
just about a pub crawl. Come on, Ian.
but it was about like a 350-mile trip over 10 days.
Amazing.
As I'm going quickly, other folks in the disabled community are joining me. Other folks in chairs are riding along, and then I'm meeting media who are coming out to interview me. I
Of
had
course.
someone from, I think it was Toronto, call me, and here I am, talking with people across the country in Canada about what
Oh.
I'm doing. And then like the mayor of Tukwila came to chat with me, and I'm talking about infrastructure and policy. And then Governor Inslee invites me to his office after I finish the ride, and he's a cyclist, and we're talking about accessible infrastructure and complete streets, and just the importance of creating access for all when we
Yeah.
when we are designing our city planning and our trail planning. And let's keep advancing trails. And
Oh my gosh. Here's this dude with dreads down to the crack of his rear end, and he's forming public policy. This is tremendous.
it was, and what I had designed of just going out to drink some beer with my friends and have a nice time outside. And I'll tell you guys, seeing a state at 7 miles per hour is kind of a beautiful thing.
Now, what kind of a chair were you working with? Did you have to have like special tires? Did you have to have like a backup chair? What sort of batteries are you working with?
Yeah, and at that point, I was just using a standard, just Invacare SR, I
All
believe.
right.
The TDX SR is what it was, and
Mm-hmm.
it had efficient gearless brushless motors that give about 30 miles on a charge, and
Right.
that was really good. But I still would bring a second chair along in the
Yeah.
support van, and I could swap into that if I
Yeah.
ran out of juice. But I was using just standard batteries. But after this, I realized this was somehow now bigger than me. I
Did you
was
get
really close.
sponsored, or did anybody
Oh
sponsor
my
you?
gosh. Yeah. I mean, we raised probably over like, I think $10,000. It cost about $4,000 to do the trip. And then we donated $5,000 to Washington Bikes. It was an organization that, was helping to push accessible
Right.
infrastructure for bikes, which works really well for me. And then we saved 1,000 to donate to the folks that manage the trail that's right near my home. But yeah, we had all these different donations from individuals and sponsors, and every brewery gave us shirts to wear the following day, which was always fun. But yeah, then all of a sudden I'm running a nonprofit, and I reached out to Kenny, and I reached out to Todd, who were both kind of running their own nonprofit. And
Okay.
it was in depth, and it was a lot of work. And again, I consider they're maybe more boardroom, I'm more break room, is how I always kind of thought of it. But I could see the value in doing this, and yeah,
Yeah. Now, where
that's
were you staying at night when you were doing this tour?
yeah. So we get hotel
Okay.
rooms along the way. I
Okay.
was I was in tent camping. We needed
Yeah.
that ventilator.
Oh, I can imagine. Now tell us, you went from this first one with Dr. B and touring around. when did all of this sort of come together and to morph into Ian's Rides and the whole nonprofit and the charity that you have there?
So that was in 2016 is when we did that first big ride, and yeah, it's hard to believe it's been 10 years now, and so every other year since, we've done other big rides. And so in 2018, I rode east to west across Washington, and there was a huge barrier there called the Cascades that I had,
Yeah,
a power wheelchair up and over. I mean, 2020, we got even more attention and more notoriety there. Then I'm talking with people in different states about, the importance of accessible infrastructure. In 2020, I did the Redwood Coast. So I rode from Brookings, Oregon down to Fort Bragg, California. Incredibly beautiful, but it was all along roads, and no
yeah,
longer was I on trails where I could be, and it started to get a little dangerous for
I
my
can
team.
imagine.
And I
Yeah.
didn't want to put my team at risk.
Mm,
But it was like reliving those days. I mean, I was just doing bike tour, just in a chair, maybe at a slightly slower pace. But after the end of that ride, I decided I didn't want to put my team in danger anymore, and I developed a relationship with the Rails to Trails Conservancy.
okay.
And every ride I've done since then has been on really long rail trails. And so in 2022, I rode from Washington D.C. to Columbus, Ohio, along the Great American Rail Trail, and
Mm,
that was on I was nearly 500 miles on dirt trails.
wow.
And these are actually tow paths, and I mean these predate the railroad, and these were
Right.
mules pulling barges along the Potomac River, and me riding my power wheelchair on a trail that was forged by mules centuries ago. It was spectacular, and again, lots of media attention, and we just but after doing some of these rides, John, I realized how impactful it was, and it gave me confidence, and it really made me realize I could do a lot more than I thought I could, and I wanted to
Yeah.
find a way to provide this opportunity to the greater community.
Yeah. Well, tell me two things. Tell me about you've mentioned it a few times now. You didn't want to put your team in harm's way. What consists of a team? Who is involved in your team and how many folks and what are they responsible for?
Yeah, so generally, I can do it with two guys. My main two guys are Jimmy and Dr. B. Their trail names are Quinoa and Meadowlark, is what we that we we call them. They call me Ringo, is what they call me.
Ringo.
But
Oh,
the three of us have mainly done it, but we've done it with I've had a caregiver ride along with us. I've had
okay.
their partners and my partner kind of ride along with us, and yeah, it changes. But those are the core, the core two that, and they're there to, when we are on roads to keep me safe, and and make sure that the folks can see me. They're
Right.
also there to, I did regain the ability to breathe, but I never regained the ability to cough.
Okay.
It's about all I have,
Right.
and so we use machines to help manage that, and they're both familiar with those, and they just keep me moving along, and
Yeah.
the jokes are plenty, I'll tell you.
I can imagine. And not to get all too graphic, but the folks that are like you and I who've had the injuries, are you're doing all of your like bowel and bladder and all that stuff along the way, your bowel program and your
Yeah, for the
clean.
hotels, I do my bowel program every other day, and
Okay.
yeah, you just do what you got to do.
You do what you got to do. I have a buddy down here who is I think he's a C5 quad and he doesn't let anything get in the way of doing anything. He's out. He's a real outdoorsman too. He's telling me he's doing his bowel program like in running streams in Jersey and yeah, I mean he's got to do what he got to do, he tells me.
There's some
Crazy.
crazy stories out there like that.
Without question, without question. And so now you were saying that you're seeing that um, you're having an effect on the community at large, and how you're going to maybe try and take advantage of that, and how you can sort of be a blueprint and maybe raise awareness and then and money along the way,
It was
right?
more it was more about trying to offer this similar experience to the community, right? I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
I just realized how meaningful, impactful it was, and getting out in nature when you're a higher injury might not seem as doable, and so what we did is we developed our flagship event. Ian's Ride holds a number of events throughout the year that are fully supported for people of all abilities. Most of those rides, like 10 to 12 miles at different trails along, Washington State. But our
Yeah.
flagship event is Sea to Sound. This is what we developed right after that second ride across Washington. And this is a 75-mile ride over 3 days along the Olympic Discovery Trail, right, outside my house.
Yep.
This
Yep.
this was our this past year was our seventh year. I think we had 150 individuals, 75 volunteers. Over 40 of them are in wheelchairs, and I mean it's just this magical event, John, that
It's awesome.
so many folks couldn't experience, without support. I've got all those college friends flying up, and they're ready to push chairs, if they run out of juice, or help a manual chair up a hill, or maybe someone just dropped something and he picked up.
Yeah.
I've got an EMT out there riding along just in case something happens, and a bike mechanic and a wheelchair mechanic. And
Yeah.
I also invite dignitaries. I invite folks like from, World in Policy. Maybe
Yep.
they're a senator or a representative, or maybe this last year we had the COO of Invacare out there.
Wow.
And we put them in a chair for 5 miles. And we say,
Mm.
okay, here you get to ride along with all of us and experience the joy and the challenges that we do. And, that's been really impactful for the policymakers. I mean, they're going to invest a little bit more in, maintaining trails and expanding trails, because those are what's allowing us to kind of get around and they bring communities together. But
Yeah. What
having,
would you
having
s
a
yeah, what would
mobility leader also there, I mean, they're now going to be developing equipment for more for lifestyles and for people that want to have some fun outdoor recreation rather than just insurance companies. And
Right, right. What would
yeah,
you say the ages range from? Do you have some young folks there with their parents and families and stuff?
sure. I mean, we've had a 7-year-old in a chair that rode pretty much almost that entire route over 3 days. We had a 103-year-old woman that rode last 5 miles on day two, and she
Good.
actually, I think she's 105, and she just
Wow.
her funeral. Her funeral was yesterday, but
Oh, God rest her
it's so
soul.
so special, right? To have all these ages and all these different
Yeah.
abilities. We have fully vent dependent people. I mean, we have, people with, just that are barely disabled, but whatever. I mean, they're getting to come together. They're able to share resources and strategies and ideas, and just get to, enjoy the fun of being
Of
outdoors.
course. Yeah, yeah. I can remember the thing that I would equate it with, Ian, is was when I first was able to drive again, and I was able to get behind the wheel of a car that had to be retrofitted for me because my arms don't work, and I can do the gas and brake with my feet, but to be able to do with the spinner knob to do the and I can remember I kicked everybody out of the car, I turned the music up, and I put the windows down, and it was like, "Oh my god, I'm back." It's me. I'm back again like I used to be. It's just that, it's that feeling of we want to be accepted and be out there again.
Well, and it just opens up the door to what else can I do? I mean, all
Yeah,
the things that I thought were limits and that
it's
were,
exciting.
it's like, okay, now I just have
Yeah.
to find ways around those.
Yeah. Tell me about the infrastructure that you have behind the scenes that puts these big things together. I mean, do you have a big crew of people that are involved in all this, or is it like you and a couple of friends?
That's where I'm just super lucky, John, is I have this huge community behind me, both family, friends, locally, community I've just developed, and all these great friends just from my past, from my college years. And like I said, to put on Feet of Sound last year, we had over 70, 72 volunteers.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people over 3 days, and just organizing it all is challenging. But I could not do this alone, and it
Yeah.
is that vast community I have that allows me to do the things I do. And that's kind of why I put Cheetah Sound on, is because not everybody has that community. And if I can kind of share that in a way to have others get wonderful experiences like mine, I mean, I want to do that.
Now, when you say sea to sound, is that to the Puget Sound?
Sorry, Cheetah Sound. Yeah, that's the name of the event. Yeah, and
Yep.
ultimately the Salish Sea to the Puget Sound is the
That's
point.
what I wondered. Yeah, I
Doesn't
figured the
doesn't
Puget
quite
Sound.
make it to either, but
Yeah,
eventually.
yeah. So what would be next, Ian? What is the next thing that you're trying to conquer here, either on your rides or with the foundation that you have?
Yeah. Well, so I didn't mention back in 2022, I also achieved the Guinness World Record for the furthest distance traveled in 24 hours in a power wheelchair.
Oh, wow. How far did you go?
184 miles and in 24 hours, and I did this because there was a man in from Korea who had, well, after doing my long ride, I kind of looked up and said, "What's the longest distance anyone's gone in a chair?" And I found
Yeah.
this man in Korea has a world record for, like these thousands of miles over 18 months that he did
Mm-hmm.
across multiple countries. It's pretty awesome. But he also had this record for this 24-hour ride. I said, I can do anything for 24
Yeah.
hours.
Yeah.
Turns out, John, that was one of the most miserable days of my life. That was very, very challenging. Anyway, those relationships I made with Apple doing those commercials,
Right.
they were very talented production crew, and they asked, "Hey, do you have any fun events coming up that we'd love to do a documentary for a passion
Yeah.
project of ours?" And so we now have a documentary that's going to be released in the coming months. We're just looking for a film festival to premiere it at, and then we're going to be distributing it out widely.
That's
We also had a
awesome.
book. We had a book come out in April, and so between a book and the documentary, I've been super busy. But I did mention every other year I do a long ride, and so this year we're looking
Yeah.
at going across New York along the Erie Canal Trail.
Really? You're going to be out my way.
Another towpath, and right, also forged by mules long ago.
Oh,
And yeah, it's going to be
wow.
pretty special. And we're going to finish. I've been working with Invacare. I'm an ambassador for Invacare for years
Okay.
now. But
Good.
Motion Concepts is a subsidiary of theirs, and I'm going to finish at Motion Concepts where I can do some consulting with them and talk about how awesome adventure can be if equipment is available that allows you to do so.
Wow, man, I tell you, I like to joke with some of my friends that are in chairs and I say, "Well, you certainly don't let any grass grow under your wheels or your tires and you are certainly that kind of a guy. You're out there and you're visible and it's amazing coming from someone who shied away from it all initially to where you are now. I mean, if you were to go back and give that Ian of the first year out, what would you tell him?"
Not sure I would have believed it, to be honest, Don, but I would say, first it's okay to ask for help,
Yeah, yeah,
right? And make that clear, and also that limits are so often only in your head, and push yourself and seek adventure, and
yeah.
you have a support network, use it. They
Without
all want
question.
they want to see you succeed.
Yeah. And I'll leave you with this one. The last question I always ask all of my guests, and it's an interesting story. It came about. I was waiting in this long hallway to see my physiatrist at the time, and I was with a buddy of mine from high school. Unfortunately, one of my best buds from high school, he got banged up and had a severe spinal cord injury. He was a high quad and he was in a chair. And I remember, I said, "Hey T, if I could snap my fingers right now and you would be completely able-bodied again, what do you think the first thing you would do would be?" And as I look over and I see the smoke pouring out of his ears as he's trying to come up with an answer, I heard from behind me there was a woman that said, "I would go out and garden in my backyard." And then a guy off to my right said, I would go back in my garage and fix my car and tinker with cars. And so there's always going to be an answer. And I pose it to you, Ian. What do you think the first thing you would
Well,
be
besides
is
like probably like itch my nose, John. I mean, that'd be an easy one, but
Yeah.
I would hug my fiance, right? I'd hug my mom. That those I think would be the most important things that I could do is show some physical affection to all those that have helped get me to where I am today.
Simple pleasures, right?
You got it. You got
Simple
it.
pleasures. Well, Ian Mackay, thank you so much for carving some time out of your busy day. I know you're a busy man, and not only that, but for all you do for the community and for able-bodied out there, able-bodied people that see all that you're able to overcome, and it sort of is a nice light that makes us all look good. You know, it's not easy what we're doing, but if you put a smile on your face and you're willing to put yourself back out there again, it does so much for all of us.
Attitude is everything, John. Attitude is everything.
It is. And again, I appreciate you joining me, and I hope we can stay in touch and remain friends.
So too, John. Really, thank you for having me. Been great talking with you.
And just like that, another episode is in the books. I think you'll all agree with me that Ian Mackay is the guy. Be sure to check back soon, as new episodes of the QP will be headed your way. Until then, I'm John McAlevey, and I thank you for your time.